Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you're here with us, and it is a privilege, and we thank you very much. I'm Scott Baker, analyst with Opus Research, the tallest and baldest of all the Opus Research members. It's my proud claim to fame. So I've only been here just over a year, and in my previous life, I was at one of the companies who's a sponsor here. And I was in the weeds with Enterprise Intelligent Assistance and helping customers you've heard of figure out their omni-channel plan. And in those days, we were very siloed. There was not a lot of analytics shared across the different channels. Sometimes for live chat, one of my largest customers did not have the ability to seamlessly switch to a live agent. These were dark times. These were tough times. And so it's been there's been a radical shift, even just in the last 2 years of my life. My last year at Nuance, and then my first year here, where suddenly I was out of the Nuance weeds and meeting all of you and your technologies and thinking, whoa, I thought Nuance was kind of the top dog, but there's a lot of top dogs coming in the field right now doing amazing work. And it's never lost on me that the best and brightest and kindest people I've met have been since I joined Opus and started working with all of you and going to my first Enterprise Connect. So this is a really great space of people and minds, and that's really what we want to collect here, is the great minds to team up. We have some people here who might be considered competitors of one another, but what we're trying to pull together and move forward is this idea that we are all better together. We are all better when we think about ourselves in the context of what we're calling the Conversational Cloud. So we'll talk about what we mean by that and where that came from, what the tenets and the pillars are of the Conversational Cloud. You see the agenda here. We'll at the end of our speech, we'll talk about some housekeeping items and how the 2 days are going to go. But the key, and Dan will get into this in a moment to talk about how we view the Conversational Cloud. For me, this is a framework where if I could go back to the customers I worked with 3 or 4 years ago, I would bring them the Conversational Cloud and say, this is it. This is what you need to be considering. And it has to be relentlessly CX, customer experience, and employee experience focused. Everything has to start from there. We have to keep baking humanity into everything we do. You know, I can have a seamless conversation with Dan. We can switch context. We can chat asynchronously. These are normal expectations of each other, and these should be very normal expectations of the technology. And so we have to be relentlessly customer experience and employee experience focused, and we want to help navigate all of that with you and figure out how this comes together to become the gold standard of not just contact centers, but just customer experience and customer journey orchestration. So with that, Dan,
wow,
take us into the cloud.
Not just contact. All right. So the major themes here. So if we do anything here, we should come to an agreement about what we mean when we say Conversational Cloud. And it's kind of tough, but the premise is that there's really 4 foundational principles that it embodies. And I woke up one day saying, you know what, it is beyond the contact center. The idea that there's contact center as a service, there's unified communications as a service, there's platforms as a service, is just not really accurate, because the way enterprises are buying the technology that they're putting into effect is they're saying, okay, been there, done that. We've moved to the cloud. As a matter of fact, just this week we're out of the field with a survey where about 400 people, right, Derek?
250, but yeah.
Okay, close, rounding up. But 86% of them had said they'd already moved at least their telephony up into the cloud. 69% of those, so close to 70, have said they've been there for 2 years. So it's a been there, done that world we're in right now. And that what's going on right now is that 80% of them are looking for incremental improvements in the assets that they have indeed moved to the cloud. And we're saying that, okay, so when they're making purchase decisions for technologies to support better conversations between themselves and their customers and prospects, they're really saying, okay, I'm in the cloud because that's where compute power is, there's increasingly switching, there's all of the world's knowledge, thanks to whomever, Google and others. So what I'm doing is saying, okay, I'm going to organize my thinking about this around kind of what I've been doing traditionally. So the 4 components we're talking about, one comes out of the self-service world, which sort of looks like upgrading your IVR in some cases, or making it omni-channel and doing that sort of thing. It means it's created demand for application integration and workflows. So if you start thinking, and this is Scott's UX, CX, and EX sort of stuff, that stuff has to work together better in the interest of improving the way companies talk to their customers and their employees finish their jobs. And then they're looking at improved ways to support interactions across multiple channels and over different time periods. So that instead of thinking of CCaaS, you're really thinking, and you'll see this, that all of the solution providers are expanding their capabilities. So they think, I'm not CCaaS anymore. Like, I'm Zoom plus contact center. Or, you go down the list of companies that have expanded, what they're offering. So, so it does include telephony, contact center, multiple channels, task routing, all this sort of stuff, and indeed an application marketplace. But then the foundational component is that all of these things are informed by what we're calling conversational intelligence, which are the insights gleaned from content, from the conversations that are taking place, where you're using advanced analytics, you're using cognitive resources and that sort of thing in order to extract, the purpose of each conversation and deal with it correctly. So this is, if we're successful in what we're doing, this is how we want to funnel our thinking over the next day and a half. And now I'll turn it over to Derek.
Sure. Yeah, our background is within self-service. And by the way, too, I just want to be clear about this. This is an interactive session for everyone. We want to make sure that if you have any questions, we're going through a lot of kind of technical stuff here. We're going through something, our kind of definition of conversational cloud. We welcome challenges to it. We welcome any kind of questions or just clarifications, whatever. I just want to be clear about that. But so self-service is a foundational pillar of conversational intelligence, coming from the world of IVRs and simple chatbots, things like that, which have been around for a while. And we're going to go through each of these pillars in kind of a then and now. Obviously, back in what used to be simple answer bots, simple natural language, is moving to much more of a complex, multi-turn conversation, recognizing context, recognizing intent, and really kind of more than just a slot fulfillment, which is some of the terms we use, but it's also now more multi-language. I mean, this is not just a simple, press one for customer service. It's much more complex, much more global, and much requires recognition of who your customers are and how they're going to benefit from self-service. And we look at authentication, actually more what had been previously an anonymized, kind of experience with the customer, knowing who they are, where they are, knowing the kind of contextual data that they're bringing in provides, which also could include authentication, which is something we also look at, voice biometrics, giving them that personal experience, recognizing, thanks, Derek, you're calling for United, knowing that beforehand obviously gives a better customer experience, potentially better business results. We talked a little bit more about multimodal and asynchronous, and yes, how humans interact is not necessarily going to always be exactly repeated within a conversational AI or self-service experience, but you can try and get there. Having that knowing that they don't necessarily want to answer right now, knowing what channel they prefer, and then having that multimodal experience is a goal for anybody looking for better customer service. And then in terms of getting into conversational intelligence and the idea of what had been kind of transcripts and just callbacks and really kind of recordings of conversations, using those business insights in the self-service channel to make bots better, to apply that to customer engagements is a key criteria for anybody who's going to be doing a successful self-service. Go ahead.
So this one is me again. So, from Derek's slide, I sort of got the feeling that it was a simpler time, perhaps. And as we have all these moving parts that are informed by flavors of artificial intelligence, we've created a whole new marketplace of the need for application integration in the name of automation. So back then, as companies were thinking of bringing on chatbots, voice bots, whatever they wanted to call it, what we called intelligent assistants, there was great dependency on professional services. I remember when we did surveys of solution providers, and they would show all these great use cases, and you'd say, well, how much of that was out of the box, and how much did somebody have to pay somebody to sort of hard code it? And that's still going on, but it's taken sort of a new cast. So back then it was just, okay, you're going to pick your vendor, your solution provider, and they'll make things happen. And now there's the expectation that you have staffed up and you have tools, low code, no code, and pro code if you're big enough, to indeed create your intelligent assistant strategy. Back then, everything was sort of a closed system, monolithic. People we live in a client-server world. But today there are marketplaces of interoperable APIs, RESTful APIs, all these things you can shop from in order to create the solution that is purpose-built. But back then it was like, oh, gee, we have a purpose-built tactic for bringing a bot in. So you'd have these little specialist bots, and one would be created by the mobile team to do account balance check, and somebody else would do something on the website that did account balance check. So each one of these was sort of one-off, not aware of one another. And today, what we're finding among the best solutions is that out of the box, choose a topic, so financial services, medical, insurance, go down the list. You have examples and sample code and dialogue modules that can indeed get companies started more quickly and get into the process of customizing and using machine learning for a constant improvement. Back then, there were just large firms, and if you thought of moving your IT infrastructure into the cloud, you had your choice of one or two, and sort of became AWS's world. But now what we're seeing is that in terms of automation, that there's a lot of opportunities for smaller firms as innovators to bring their solutions to problems. And back then, automation was purely for cost savings, for replacing labor with automation. And today, as Scott was saying, that everything should be a matter of improving CX, improving the employee's experience, recognizing the sort of workflows that both are trying to pursue and matching them and getting into the role of applying AI or conversational AI to help people complete the tasks that they perceive for themselves. And now I'm going to turn it over to Scott.
And so on that note, I remember nobody wants to be called a cost center. It's a horrible term for any group. So the idea that, yes, we all want to make money with this. We all want to deflect calls from the call center, but we want to do that. In the old days, it was deflecting calls from the call center almost just for the sake of that. It was almost just on defense, like just keep them out. Don't let them in. And now we're having conversations about meaningful work for agents. How do we reduce all of the mundane tasks and take the subject matter experts in your organization who are oftentimes in your call center or in your support team and have them be an active participant in improving the day-to-day machine behind the NLU, everything that goes behind your day-to-day conversations with your customers. So yes, the old conversation of agent cost savings, now we're talking about automation. Automate everything you can. Let customers and employees have agency wherever they can to complete things on their own, to get the information they need on their own. You know, the idea of having a bunch of folks in a call center in one place has been obliterated, and we don't need it, and we can serve it, and we can do it securely. And it's just, it feels like we're crossing a threshold here. And you know, Yalom and I were just talking earlier, watching Zoomtopia and looking at some of the partnerships and some of the frenemies, I would say, showing up to be sponsors at a Zoomtopia event, and that gets very interesting. But it's all a matter of saying, the time has come where everybody said, okay, we got to play nicely in the sandbox. If we can't do it, or if we can't get the deal because of some legacy contract and some, you know, folks who are friends and that deal's not going anywhere, then let's interoperate, let's interact, and let's make sure that our systems are finely tuned and can harmonize together to accomplish whatever the task is. So the idea that we have these app marketplaces for the easy connections, seamless switching between agent and bot, again, I mean, I think this is probably the 10th time I've said humanity, but isn't it nice that the machines can start to reflect our expectations of each other? And there's an entire generation, well, you all look a little younger than I am, but there's an expectation.
Amen.
There is an expectation of an entire generation of business people that this is how we behave, and this is how we connect, and that at the end of the day, it's all in service of the customer or the employee. Let's go to conversational intelligence with Derek.
Yeah.
Derek's specialty.
Well, everyone's should be using conversational intelligence, or conversation intelligence, as a lot of people say. It's synonymous with what we think about. But this just gets back to the idea that the conversations that businesses are having with their customers is an underutilized asset. We don't have it on here, but we had a survey a couple of years ago where 80% of, this is for voice recording, voice ASR technology, 80% of companies were recording and capturing customer conversations, but only 20% of them were actually utilizing those conversations for multiple different applications. And so this gets into the idea that it is the real voice of the customer. You are truly gaining business insights from captured conversations, and they can be applied to. I'm going to go through this quickly because I kind of want to speed things up a little bit. But that can be applied in dashboards and coaching in ways for contact center agents, for sales agents, for marketing folks to really then apply those insights for business outcomes. And I think that's the key thing, is that this is across beyond the contact center. Certainly can be, conversational intelligence can be used for agent assist, for training bots, for all of the customer support issues, but for marketing, for attribution, for really kind of gleaning, and we'll have some case studies about this too, by the way, looking at how that can be applied. And of course, when it comes to revenue generation and top line sales acceleration, using customer conversations for salespeople is truly going to be, there is a business outcome that people want to use. So. Quickly, because I want to move on. But
yeah, I mean, I was just kind of going through. So we're in the process of doing 2 reports right now: the conversational intelligence IntelliView and the conversational cloud IntelliView. And this is our way of reaching out to vendors and asking them questions, kind of tailored to obviously our interest and what we think your customers' interest should be. And again, it's like we're speaking the same language. Make experience flow, build relationships that last. Vonage has a great quote here, and we have somebody from OneReach here who it kind of says it all. Conversational AI isn't going anywhere, it's going everywhere. So this is really about, we're always trying to make sure that we're speaking the same language as our clients and as the vendors that we cover, and making sure that we're of service. And so every time we get responses back that reflect the direction we think things are going, that always feels good.
And this is a complex, but this is kind of a tech stack that we look at when it comes to the kind of the bottom line analytics and conversations as the bottom layer, then how it's applied versus through the channels that are people have, and then into the top level is kind of applications and specific verticals or specific types of customer support, but also employee support, sales and marketing as well. So, by the way, these slides will be available afterward. I want to make sure that that's what we're happy to provide this and provide more context. So yeah, let's go to the recent survey stuff that we've been looking at.
So here's where we're at. So a snapshot from a survey we did last year where we asked what are the reasons your business has implemented enterprise intelligent assistance, and these are real business reasons. So gaining customer and business insights, that means that they're looking for that conversational intelligence to inform all of the investments that they're making. And then there's these evergreen things like deflecting calls and containment, because that's how you build your business case, and accuracy and transfer and routing. So the message here is, these are for real, that people are making these investments. One of the reasons we wanted to have this conference now here is that Scott called it an inflection point. I've heard it. We feel like we're at a place where this stuff is getting implemented for real business reasons.
As Dan would say, shit is getting real.
After a couple drinks. Anyway.
It's New Orleans, Dan, you're good.
All right. Right, so what they were saying here is these are the business reasons they implemented compared to the functions supported. They started pretty modestly. So 3/4 were just doing an answer bot, general facts. What was interesting is that even from the beginning, search had become a very important way to initiate those conversations. People talk about it as a customer journey, but from the customer's point of view, it often starts as a web search. And then this issue of updating personal information and getting personalized, that was still recognized by more than half of the respondents. And I think I stole that from Derek. So Scott, now we get to you.
Yeah, and this is just one of those things that seems inexcusable to me. The idea that you wouldn't have a seamless live agent handoff, I was just dealing with a situation where I think in an effort to avoid a security line, my wife and I signed up for Clear and then wound up with 2 accounts, and then she was a family member on my account. She put me as a family member on her account, and the biometrics were tied to it was a whole thing. So when I called then, I was like, this is never good. I'm on the way to the airport. This is never going to get fixed by the time I get there. They put me right through to somebody. I could tell he was reading me something scripted, but he was so good. I was like, you should be a voice bot, voice. I was like, has anybody ever told you that? Your voice is amazing.
Voice bot status, you're good.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Baker. That's very inconvenient. This could cause double billing, and we don't want that. And so he just stepped me through, and it was natural, and he took care of my problem immediately. And it felt like magic, and it shouldn't feel like magic is the point.
Yeah. But it's going to be more and more common that
Yeah.
we're reading from the same script, not like here. Which culminates in just a question about how are people staying in the mix? Because a lot of what we should be talking about during these sessions is the balance between humans and technology, both in terms of delivery and also constant refinement of the development, deployment, and constant refinement creates new roles for people, whether they're the subject matter experts that the bots are built on or that are reviewing it. So we were saying, which methods does your organization use to train? It was nice to see that, for the most part, they were using their vendors, but, and we expect the 41% that are using their existing staff for supervised learning would be growing, and also the use of customer support agents to train. So if anything, remember this is what we're trying to reinforce. This is what was the inspiration for holding this conference. First of all, that what we're calling conversational AI, whether it's machine learning, natural language understanding with machine learning, cognition, advanced analytics, it's become a commodity. And the word commodity is a good word in this point. It becomes part of the affordable building blocks for building solutions. It's really important when you think of the conversational cloud, like I said, not to think of CCaaS, UCaaS, whatever, but one thing that's happening is that conversations across multiple channels using multiple modalities have replaced contact centers. There's not a center. Your agents could be anywhere. The resource that reacts to it is somewhere in the cloud. All conversations, for planning purposes, it does start with a search, because it starts with somebody in somebody's head. They're looking for something. They're looking for a solution. They have a task they want to, and they're virtually every single one of them starts with search, and that conversational intelligence, as we frame this, is the true voice of your customer. It's how you recognize their intent out of the words that they said. So that is their voice. I don't know what this meant when I wrote it exactly, but automation drives ROI. So a lot of the justification and business plans are built on replacing expensive people with automated resources. But the vice versa is once you sort of zoom out, is that there's a role for people that is ongoing, that this balance of what unfortunately gets called human capital, as you think of over time building a better platform for AI-infused customer care and that sort of thing, does continue to involve individuals, and they help define what needs to be automated. And all of this results in incremental improvement. We're not, throwing stuff out. We're improving the investments that have been made, and there's no escaping that.
For more analysis and expertise in conversational AI and intelligent authentication, visit opusresearch.net.